Hello, friends. Before the Shift From Within podcast was born, I was working with a very good friend of mine on another podcast called Creating Motivation. After my friend decided that podcasts just weren't for her, I recorded several episodes that were never released until now. These conversations may have been recorded some time ago, but the message is just as relevant today. What you're about to hear is one of those unreleased episodes. Happy listening. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Creating Motivation podcast. I am your host, Rohit, and with me today, we actually have a special guest. So our first guest we have with us, Christina Rohila. She is a relative of mine. She is my sister's sister-in-law. So, Tia, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, man. That music was really catchy. I enjoyed it. I was doing a little dancing here in my stool.
And she might also be my wife. So thank you for joining me on this fantastic episode.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
And today's episode is all about visualizing your next job. And the reason why I asked her to join here is because I think her journey on how she found a new job is very compelling and one that I think will be very attractive to a lot of the listeners out here. So while we dive into that, Tia, why don't you tell us a little bit about your previous job?
So I work in government communications. So basically that means I work for a city and I'm managing all of their social media. If there's a road closed, I'm going to be the one that's going to tell you about it. So I did that. I planned events for a community. So I was really it was my job to engage the community for the city.
And what did you like about that job? Because you were there for how long now?
Oh goodness.
Just working with the city altogether?
Probably about 4 years, but longer. I was in the community longer than that, but I think the thing that I enjoyed the most was the people, was getting to know the residents, getting to see how excited they were at events, at like the 4th of July event, at our summer concerts, seeing them enjoying themselves and knowing that I had a little part in that was probably the best part of that job.
And you were there for quite some time, like you said, and people knew who you were within the community just from you being at all these events and the way that you were communicating with the city. I mean, you were solely responsible for them knowing what's going on.
Yeah, I mean that it was a little strange. Even I'd be out at events and people I didn't know would come up to me and say, "I love what you did on social media," and thank you for keeping us informed. That was really nice to hear.
So a job that you loved, a city that seemed to really embrace you. When did you know it was a time for a change? Walk us through that, because it couldn't have been easy either.
It wasn't, no. Especially because I loved the community, I loved the people, I loved my boss, my supervisor. All those factors made it really hard, but I think it got to the point where my work-life balance was just out of whack. I was working, I was on the clock all the time. I was on call 24/7. Holidays didn't really feel like holidays. I was always having to post something. That got to be too much. And the reason that I was on 24/7 is because I was the only one in the city that had the responsibility of doing that. I was the one that had to post to social media. I was the one that had to update the website. I was a team of one. And I wasn't growing because of that. And when I recognized that, I told myself it was time. It was time to find a place where I could develop my skills, where I could have that work-life balance, where I could collaborate with people. And I think that's really what moved me to start looking for something a little different.
And so if it wasn't necessarily the community itself, nor, like you said, the majority of the people, they don't really leave the job, they leave the manager. And so it sounds like you had a fantastic relationship, someone that you really enjoyed working with. It was just a recognition of the negative impact it was having on your life, mixed in with the fact that you just weren't growing anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that when I told my supervisor, I basically had a panic attack. I was shaking, I was crying, just because I loved working for him so much and how much he supported me. So, it was definitely not anything having to do with my coworkers. It was simply I needed to grow. I needed to have a work-life balance.
So were you actively looking when you found your new role or your new job?
Honestly, no. No, I was not actively looking. I was unhappy a little bit where I was, just because of the factors that I mentioned. So I was just kind of cursory looking, nothing, not a full on job search.
And so you found a role, and did you believe you were qualified for it? Overqualified, underqualified?
Definitely. I mean, I was. It kind of looked like the job description of what I was doing right now.
So what if the description matched what you were doing right now and you left your position looking for growth, what was it about this that you thought to yourself, this is a place where I can grow compared to where you were at right now or previously?
Well, it was because I would be a part of a team. I wasn't going to be the only one posting to social media, creating communication assets. And that was probably the main thing that attracted me. I would get the chance to work with people. I would get the chance to learn from people, to collaborate, which is something that I've never had.
Now, you apply for the job, you get the interview. Walk me through your interview, or sorry, your interview preparation.
So actually, how it happened is I see the job posting. As soon as I see the job posting, I told you about it, and that night we drove to the building where I would be working. And, it was dark. I was a little skeptical. I thought it was a little bit of a strange thing to do. I think I was like in my pajamas. And we drove out there and we took pictures of the building. There was no one there. We were just walking around, and I remember just looking up at it and thinking, this is so big. This is like the big time. And but at the same time, I could picture myself there. And so, looking back on it, I think that exercise was so influential in me believing that I could get this job, that I could belong there.
So when we were first talking about the interview, and I said, okay, I don't know what time it was, but I do know it was late, And I said, cool, let's get in the car. Let's drive over to the building where you're going to be working from. What was your reaction when that was proposed to you?
I thought it was strange.
I thought you were going to say stupid.
It was late. I was tired. And I didn't really see how it would be helpful. Because, I mean, honestly, I literally saw the job posting that day. And I don't think I had honestly made a decision whether or not I was going to apply for the job. I was excited because I saw that the job description kind of aligned with my skills. But I think the opportunity to see it in person also was another thing that kind of pushed me to dive in, to apply, to go through the interview process, because I think just seeing it in person was exciting, it was inspiring, it was something that I would never do, that I in the past that I probably never would have done, but I'm so glad I did.
Now, during your lunches, walk me through what you did previously and when you got to the building, what you were kind of visualizing doing.
During the lunches that I had at my previous stop?
Yeah.
So at my previous stop, like I would walk during all my lunches, walk around the city and everything.
And so when you get to this new building, and before I think it was just like a simple 2-story, 3-story building. You guys just had one floor, but at this one it was an actual like building. I think like I don't know how many floors there were, but it was really a big building. It struck out. And when you were thinking about what you would do for your lunches, just thinking that, walk us through that visualization.
Yeah, I mean, first it was the chance to get to actually be in the office. That was exciting, but there was a lot to explore because the building is a courthouse. There's like 7 floors, and it's all brand new. So I was excited to get the chance to get a lay of the land, to spend my lunchtime, looking at each floor, seeing what offices are there, and that was a really cool experience.
Now, when you had your interview, so the night before, you're walking around the building, you're visualizing, okay, here's where I'm going to park my car, and here's the path that I'm going to walk on, and I wonder which floor I'm going to be on. You were present. You were living in the moment, like you were already there. And so when that was happening, when that was going on, walk me through your interview now. So, because I believe you mentioned this to the interview person, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I mentioned that we had visited the building. Again, I think that experience really made me want the position. That visualizing it, being there at the building, taking pictures, seeing what it was like, it really made me want and believe that I could get this position. And I think because of that, I prepared for this interview like crazy. I was studying a bunch of different things. I did several mock interviews. I was as prepared for that interview as I could be. And I do think that exercise of going there and seeing it in person made me want to put in that effort, made me want to do everything that I could to get this position.
And what was their reaction when you told them that you did that? Because you took a whole bunch of pictures as well, and letting them know that you did that. it's it's not something that I'm sure they hear all the time. So what was their reaction?
Oh, I think that was probably a great anecdote. I think they said, "Oh, that's really awesome. That's clever." I think they appreciated that.
And so you get the job, or sorry, you get the call. Congratulations, we're going to make you an offer. And interestingly enough, the job that you applied for was not the one that you got.
Right, right, yeah. So it was a different job, a job that I was probably a little bit more qualified for than the other one. And so we interviewed in the morning, and then I remember that afternoon getting the phone call. And I was surprised because I wasn't expecting anything until the week after. But I remember getting that phone call and hearing that I was the one that they chose. I was the one they chose. It was a unanimous decision, um, and it was the feeling was like I started shaking. I started crying. I was so happy. I was so proud of myself, which has been a struggle for me for a long time. Having that self esteem, having the courage to believe that I'm good enough to even look for another job, to put myself out there. That's been a struggle for me. So just the feeling of getting that call. I mean, probably one of the best days of my life, I'll be honest. It's I can picture how it felt right now. Yeah, it was amazing.
Walk me through what visualization did for you that day. Because even if you did not get the job, do you think going over there, picturing yourself walking around and where you'd park and then going back to your old job, do you think you would have been kind of motivated to keep going, or would you have been like, yeah, this is just where I am?
I think visualizing it was exciting for me. It was motivating. It was inspiring. I I had told myself after I did that, I had told myself that, even if I don't get this job, you know what? I'm going to start looking. I'm going to start seriously looking. And again, I think I hadn't started looking for a long time because I was I was held back by my own insecurities, by my belief that no one else would want me. And so seeing the building, visualizing myself there made me believe that I was worthy of being in a place like that.
So, for the audience at home listening in, what advice do you have for them on visualization? Not just when it comes to maybe your job, but even other aspects of their life.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Thank you.
um wow. I think another good example of visualizing something quite recently. um we bought a dog toy for our dog, which we didn't have yet. We didn't have a dog, but we bought a dog toy. And that dog toy was going to be the first toy for whenever we got a dog. We didn't have any plans to get a dog, but visualizing that toy uh, put out into the universe that there's a dog out there for us. There's a dog that is going to play with this toy one day. So I think for me, visualizing has been a way to help with my insecurities, with not feeling worthy, with believing that I could be better than I am today.
Yeah. Well, Christina, thank you so much for joining us here on the Creating Motivation podcast and sharing all about your new role and how visualization was key in that.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So what is visualization? It's a lot more than just closing your eyes and imagining something. When we're kids, we thrive off imagination. That is what we live for, and you are able to express yourself in a way that you just can't explain in other ways. But as you grow up, we tend to lose that. We start abandoning our imaginations for reality. But that is not an emotional connection. Reality is a pure mental connection, whereas imagination is a pure emotional connection. So by visualizing what you want to accomplish in life and truly embracing that visualization, not just, it'd be nice to have a new job, but you heard Tia, she went there. She imagined herself walking around and what that was going to be like. Where would she go to lunch? What would her commute be like? And by doing that, she was putting out into the universe, this is what I want. You heard the same thing with the dog. Went to the pet store, and she had mentioned that she wanted to get a puppy for a while. And I was like, okay, we're here. Get the chew toy. What's going to be the dog's first chew toy? And she looked around for quite some time, and all of a sudden there was this squeaky hot dog that just happened to pop out at her. She ended up getting it, and now that's one of Goober, which is the name of the dog, Goober, Dr. Goober F. Rohila the Third. Yeah, he loves that toy. So it's fantastic. Visualize. So your call to action today is visualize your next role at your job. Is your next role even with your current company? Are you at a spot right now where you realize that the things that you want to accomplish in life cannot be done at your current job? And if that's the case, go somewhere else. Walk around big buildings. Feel that excitement of looking up at the towers and imagining that you're there. And the more you do that, the more you are drawing that to you. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to another edition of the Creating Motivation Podcast.